was some movement there on the 6-7 line as well as the 4-3 with those matchups coming to rest right there. Also the Rams and the Vikings going to round out your wild card round action on Monday night. Emery Hunt, Bryant McFadden offering their thoughts, and we will start with the Packers and Eagles in that 7-2. Eagles, they get the rest they need, specifically the quarterback who's coming off the concussion. Plenty of others, including the running back and Saquon Barkley, well rested. The Packers coming in off a loss to the Bears. I don't know where momentum lives, but what do you see when you look at that matchup, Emery?
How well will this Philadelphia Eagles defense do the second time they face this offense? And that was the biggest question coming into the regular season. This opened the season, actually, a second game of the opener. When you look at how, okay, what are the new changes going to be for Philadelphia? Can they really get these rookies to play up to speed? And we saw how that game ended with Jordan Love being out, and then Malik Willis coming in, sacked to end the game. Hail Mary attempt didn't work. So at the end of the day, we now fast forward to the end. This Eagles defense is playing lights out, much better. The young rookies are looking like young veterans. And Green Bay still have some injury issues, and they've been playing a little bit up and down now at this part of the season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because the first game, Philly with a lot of new faces and new places, not to mention a new DC and Vic Fangio, was trying to figure things out. They gave up some holes, they gave up some points, but now when you look at the Eagles defensively, they're playing much better. But then when you look at Green Bay offensively compared to week 1 to the current date, Josh Jacobs has been a man amongst boys. So can they get Josh Jacobs going? Because he's been the most consistent piece to their offense, even in today's matchup against the Bears. When Jordan Love was in the lineup, they weren't very, very efficient. It seems to be something has been a bit off in terms of the passing game for the Green Bay Packers. So can they establish a sense of balance that will be needed in this round 1 game against Philadelphia? Because even with Jalen Hurts resting, one would think Saquon Barkley is going to do Saquon Barkley-like things, and the same could be said for the pass catchers and A.J. Brown. So it puts a lot of pressure on Jordan Love to be super efficient, to be able to keep pace with the Eagles offensively.
Yeah, you could find some fresh legs on both sides with Jacobs getting plenty of rest scheduled and sort of active rest in blowouts these last couple of weeks. See if they can take down the Eagles, and the Packers play spoiler as they did a year ago to the Dallas Cowboys. The Commanders and Bucs also going up, Mac. I guess the question here becomes, what is experience worth? Because Baker Mayfield has some in these types of moments, but you have a live rookie on the other side that doesn't look to flinch in the face of anything. What's got you excited about this matchup?
Well, the quarterback matchup, because like the first matchup we just previewed with the Eagles and the Packers, this is a rematch. Remember, these teams faced off in week 1, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just had their way with Jayden Daniels in his first NFL game. But Jayden Daniels he's highly acclimated to the NFL life. So the matchup I'm looking for is the quarterback matchup, because you talked about the playoff experience, not just with Baker Mayfield, but think about some of the other players that are a part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that have been on championship-like runs. So this is a team that has been playing really, really good football in the most important part of the season, and they get the Commanders once again there in Tampa. So the quarterback matchup is the matchup I'm watching, because for the Commanders to have any shot of upsetting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jayden Daniels must outplay Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think we'll see this game kind of look like, points-wise, what we saw in the first matchup. The difference will be if Washington will figure out a way to establish the run. We've seen Tampa's run game be a good part of their offense down the stretch of the season, but Washington hasn't really shown the ability to consistently stick with the run, and that could get you in trouble in the postseason if you have to find a way to salt a game away.
Like you said, Mac, no rookies at this point of the year. Be an opportunity to grow, certainly. Postseason, a first stab here for Jayden Daniels. We also get the Vikings and the Rams going to round out our wild card offering on Monday. You guys said you wanted rematches. Well, let's go back to week 8, where one of the few losses of the season, for the Vikings came against these Rams at that very place. Mac, I want to ask you this question. When you look at not just this game, but these 3 games, how much are you leaning into that tape you have in whatever week it was, and how much are you leaning into the recent tape that those teams have put on out there for everybody to see? How much do you put into that previous matchup?
Well, you want to do a little bit of both. I remember during some of my playoff runs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if we played a team twice, or if we played a team early in the year, we're going to face off against them again in postseason play, we would we would devote equal amount of time to both matchups. But we would even go further in watching almost every game of the season and go back to years past, because there are certain things about preparing and studying, because you might see something that you didn't see the entire season, but they showed the year before or 2 years before. That's the extent in terms of film study when it comes to postseason football. That's why playoff football is such a unique game to watch, because mistakes come at the bare minimum because of the opportunity to prepare. But I'll tell you this much, in terms of what we saw tonight, if you're Jared Verse, if you're Braden Fisk, if you're Turney, if you're Byron Young and all those guys, you have to like your opportunities to put pressure on Sam Darnold like the Detroit Lions did tonight. And then for the Rams, can you guys get Cooper Kupp involved? Cooper Kupp is still on the team last time I checked, guys. I could have sworn I saw number 10 a week ago on the football field, but he just haven't seen any targets. If you have any hopes to win this ball game, Sean McVay, you dial up plays for Cooper Kupp, because if Cooper Kupp is not a non-factor, you probably will be going home as well.
Red zone offense for Minnesota is going to have to be huge. You got to be better inside the red zone. Points add up. Do a great job getting those points, because you never know how a game could turn out. You're going to find yourself chasing points at some point. And this is on turf. So this is a speed game. We saw the speed of Detroit, that athleticism with their reserve defensive line. It's going to be heightened with this defensive front they're going to see from the Rams. So that offensive line of Minnesota has to play better.
Looking forward to watching it all play out with you, fellas, as we now have a playoff picture set, a regular season complete, a tip of the cap to all involved in the hard work here, both in front of and behind the camera on CBS Sports HQ, bringing you this coverage all season long, 18 weeks, 272 games, and this is where we move forward. The NFC playoff picture, the Lions earning that bye, your matchups as they fall. We have a good time. In some cases, opportunity taken, and others squandered. Time to talk winners and losers with Bryant McFadden and Emery Hunt. We'd like to start positive. Emery, your biggest winner out of Week 18.
The Denver Broncos, man. You talk about coming into this weekend, this last game of the season. You felt like everyone was trying to say the Bengals, we want those guys in. We want Joe Burrow in. We want them. This has to happen for those to get in. And all the Broncos did was go out there and beat the brakes off the Kansas City Chiefs.
They came into the final game of the season. All the chips in the middle of the table. You win, you get the #1 spot in the NFC, which gives you an automatic bye in the first round, and you have everything come through your house there in Detroit. All the naysayers like myself felt like you didn't have a shot because of all the injuries. But guess what? You found a way to win the ball game, and you did so with style. You dominated. And once again, your defense exceeded the expectations. Jahmyr Gibbs, a.k.a. Sonic, was doing Sonic-like things, and you're starting to look like you looked in the earlier months of the season like the best team in the NFC. But you also have the luxury, because of the bye, to get healthier. That's key for Detroit for this significant run they're about to embark on. So when you look at all the chips in the middle of the table, being able to check off every checkbox that was there, and you get an extra week to rest to get healthier, and everything comes through your building, look out, NFC. It could be a sticky race if you have to go listen to some Motown music.
Yeah, we were sitting here wondering, how does Detroit win with this defense, the effort that they put forth a week ago against San Francisco? Now we're sitting here saying a week later, how's anybody going to beat Detroit in that NFC? It does feel like maybe a collision course between the Eagles and the Lions. We'll see if it plays out that way, those being your top 2 seeds. When we talk about a loser coming out of Week 18, some had it right there in front of them. Your biggest loser?
The Atlanta Falcons, man. And it's not for them losing this game today against Carolina Panthers, because divisional matchups, you're going to get these type of close games. It was an exciting game to watch. It went into overtime. I don't know if they knew they were out by the time they got to overtime, but you love that they competed. The reason why I say the biggest loser is because watching Michael Penix play excellent football down the stretch, it's a what-if game now for the entire offseason. Like, what if we would have started him 2 games prior to him starting out there on the field? Maybe we win those 2 games. Maybe we don't have to be in this situation here in Week 17 or Week 18, because we actually beat the Buccaneers twice. So that has to be in the back of their mind. It's like, man, we should have taken care of our business. Maybe we should have made that move earlier. They were the biggest losers today because their late movement of Michael Penix to the starting lineup cost them a shot at the postseason.
Well, my biggest loser is the Green Bay Packers. Now, their playoff hopes is alive and well. But the reason why they're my biggest loser, you had an opportunity to improve your seeding. Even without Jordan Love in the lineup, this was a game you should have won. But because you lost, self-inflicted wounds showed up once again, undisciplined play. Now, instead of potentially traveling to Tampa to play the Buccaneers, you're playing one of the more complete teams in the National Football League on the road in the Philadelphia Eagles. And not just about going to Philly to play against that beast of a team, you potentially might not have your best deep threat playmaker in the passing game in Christian Watson, who went down with an injury. So you talk about limping into the playoffs. Yes, they potentially will literally be limping into the playoff, especially if you don't have Christian Watson in the lineup or if he's not 100% healthy. Because when he is in the lineup, he is the alpha in terms of the deep shots down the football field. He's a big-time playmaker. So when you look at everything that was in front of them to beat the Chicago Bears, potentially playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers instead of the Philadelphia Eagles, and losing one of your best playmakers, yes, your season is still intact, but it felt like you lost knowing how you're going into round one against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that was one of those simultaneous games where maybe you're watching a scoreboard, and you're focused on your own game, but that was a fate sealed by the win by the Commanders. You still want to take down the Bears. You want to keep that streak alive. They don't do that, and as Max said, limping both literally and figuratively into playoff play. Time to give out some game balls.